Hello there, and welcome to the Manifestation Podcast. I'm Peggy McColl, where we're here to give you guidance, suggestions, strategies, and some thoughts to think about to help you improve your life and manifest your every desire. Today's podcast, we're going to be focusing on the positive side of COVID, of the pandemic. Now, that may seem like an odd thing to even say, but since this pandemic has started, and at the time of this recording, it was several months ago, there have been some interesting things that have happened in the world with many different individuals. But at the end of the day, I want you to know this. You are always at choice in all ways. You're always at choice in how you feel. You're always at choice in how you react and or respond. You're always at choice in what you're going to do, what you're going to do next, what you can do, what you desire to do. And so what I'd love to do for you during this podcast is share with you a number of different examples of people who were up against some challenges during COVID and how they dealt with it. Let's start with our first example. This is a wonderful friend of mine who was an executive in a rather large corporation. And this corporation started to experience some financial challenges. And just prior to COVID, they decided to downsize. What does it mean to downsize? Well, they let a whole bunch of their employees go. I believe it was something like 1/3 of their employees. So it was quite a rather large reduction in staff. And during this period of time, this friend of mine actually was one of the people that was chosen to be eliminated. Now, fortunately for her, they created what they call a package. And the package includes some remuneration, some funds, income that she could utilize or live off of until she found another job. However, there was a large part of her that didn't want another job. She wanted to pursue her passion. She wanted to finally figure out what she really wanted to do with her life and pursue that. But then something happened, a worldwide pandemic. And of course, as many people experienced, she moved into fear. Oh my goodness, what does this mean? Now, this individual that I'm referring to is on her own. She doesn't have any dependents that she's taken care of, but she is responsible for paying her own expenses. And even though she was given a severance package, it wasn't enough to maintain her lifestyle for the rest of her life. So it was necessary, and it is necessary, that she earn money. And even though she decided that she wanted to pursue her passion, when the pandemic hit, she moved into a place called fear. Now, fortunately, we're friends. And so I gave her some guidance. And I said, regardless of what's going on in the world, stay focused on what you would really love. Don't be concerned about outside stimuli. Don't let present conditions dictate the way you're going to feel or what your goals are. This pandemic is happening, but there's also opportunities right now, because there are always opportunities to be earning money, always. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. And even though previously she'd been earning money in a certain way, there's still going to be many, many, many different opportunities for her to earn the same amount of money or more money, or whatever amount of money she would love to earn was possible for her. But she had to believe it, and she had to be open to ideas and must be focused on the outcomes, understanding this, that you do not have to know how you're going to accomplish your outcomes. You do have to be connected to them. In other words, feeling as if they're already accomplished and feeling as if you're already experiencing the outcomes that you desire, and fully embrace that emotion. Now, I know that can be challenging for many people because they're believing in something that they can't see. Now, most people like to see something and then they'll believe it. But the truth is, when you decide that you're going to accomplish something and you believe in the outcome as if it's already done, you will manifest it into form. But you must believe it. You must know that it is already done. You've got to connect emotionally to it as if it's already done. And you got to deny what the senses are saying as far as the lack of results in your bank account or the lack of results in your life. You've got to feel and embrace and expect that what you desire is absolutely already done. So she decided to suspend any disbelief and really embrace that. What I suggested to her is to really think about, what would you love to be doing if you could do anything? Because at that point in her life, it was like blank slate, right? She could write her future life in any way that she desired. So she decided that she loved writing. She had written her book, her first book, realized in that experience that she was really in love with tapping into her imagination and being creative and writing, and she loved that. So she ended up creating services that are available for other authors, for people that wanted to write their book, in the way of ghostwriting services and mentoring. And so this individual has now created a very successful career. She's now earning money again. But most importantly, here's what she told me. She says, when the opportunity clock goes off in the morning, and she likes to get up nice and early at 5:30, she's excited to get out of bed. She can't wait to get out of bed. And she finds herself so involved in her work that the hours simply pass by so quickly. And next thing she'll know, it's like 14 hours have passed and she's been in the writing flow and just creating phenomenal outcomes, phenomenal results. And so it was a major shift in her thinking. But something interesting came along while she was in this process of discovering what she really loved and of taking action and moving into doing what she really loved. She got offered a job, and not just any job, a job that was perfectly aligned with her previous skill set and a job that was very financially rewarding. But what did she do? She told the individual who offered her the position that she would think about it. Now, in the past, she would have grabbed it right away, almost like it was a life preserver that was going to save her from drowning. But in this particular occurrence, what happened was she no longer felt it was a life preserver. As a matter of fact, she felt that it was like a brick that was going to bring her down, because she didn't really want to do that anymore. She wanted to do what she was passionate about. So the day after she was given this offer, she called the individual and she said, "Thank you, but no thank you. I'm going to pass." And in that experience, she thought that what she normally would have felt is fear, like, "Oh my goodness, what are you doing? Are you a fool for turning down a job that was well paying, that was perfectly aligned with her previous experience?" No, she decided I'm going to feel very relaxed about this. And intuitively, in her heart, in her soul, and every part of who she is, she felt it was the right decision. You see, when you're making the right decision. Yes, you might feel a sense of fear, understandable, when you're attempting to do something you've never done before, when you think there's no guarantees of any kind of outcome or result. But she decided to trust and really have the knowing and build and strengthen the sense of faith that her new career, her new life would produce more than she ever imagined. And things have been happening for her that are quite literally surprising in some ways. Some people might call it magical, but now she's living a dream life, a life that she had always desired to be living. And all of this occurred during the pandemic. Now, what's happening for some people that are either in business or in a business that have been negatively impacted by COVID, or have lost their jobs during this period of time is they've allowed themselves to be completely enveloped in fear. Fear is a very destructive state. And it's not that you won't feel fear. Everyone's going to feel fear. But you've got to notice when it's there, when fear reveals its ugly head, and you've got to be ready to combat it, ready to deal with it and just say, hey, I know who you are. You're fear. And you know something? You're not welcome here. I'm going to replace you, and I'm going to replace you with faith by imagining, using my imagination. I'm going to imagine that what I desire is already here and that it's already done and that I'm doing what I love and that I'm financially rewarded in wonderful ways. Now that takes time, it takes practice, it takes conditioning, it takes discipline. But I do know this with certainty. When you do that, you're going to find the results are going to be extraordinary. Now, the next example is another individual that I know that worked in a fitness center. And in order for her to earn money previously, she would either be leading a fitness class or working with clients in a private one-on-one capacity in a gym and or a fitness center. Well, when COVID hit, at least in our city, many of these fitness centers and gyms were closed. Why? Because it was close contact with other individuals, so they shut them down. And at first she felt a bit of panic and fear, but then she thought, well, how can I use my passion, my expertise, my talents, my education in a way that's going to be effective online? Because she can still offer her services on the internet. And so she did just that. She started to set up her business. She had never used Zoom before and I thought, well, I'm going to figure out how to do this. This is not complicated. There's many people using it all over the world. And she established herself as a credible fitness guide, teacher, mentor, who's guiding people in maintaining their health or getting into shape or feeling better about herself. And she's found that because she has so much passion for it and so much love and so much experience that she's getting clients word of mouth. Word of mouth. The other blessing is when you have a business online, you can serve people anywhere in the world, regardless of where they are or where you live. And now she's doing work that she's loving. She's expanded her business into other areas of wellness and fitness, and she's having an absolute blast. Now, another individual that I know, as COVID hit and there's less travel and less busyness because their business was involved in live events, and therefore they were traveling a lot, doing all these live events and away from their home, since they were finding themselves at home all the time, not a little bit, all the time, 100% of the time, because all these live events were basically shut down. This individual decided to release some weight and to finally get in shape and to give some focused attention on that, and got on with the work and invited other people to join them. And what's happened is this person has released a significant amount of weight, is feeling better than they've ever felt in their entire life. And they've involved and invited other people to come along and join them in the process. Now, this individual and I had a conversation because when I saw what they were doing, I called them up and said, you can help a lot of other people by establishing a business online. Now, whether they do the business online or don't do the business online, I think the point is, if you're really listening to this podcast, is there are opportunities everywhere. And if you don't find them, make them. There are opportunities for everyone to build a business online, regardless of what your previous experience is, regardless of what your education is. You see, I get ideas every single day. I was actually doing my hair this morning and I got an idea for a client of mine and I contacted her. She had never even thought of it, thought it was brilliant. She's going to run with it. This is a private mentoring client of mine. I have over 700 domain names, and almost every single one of those domain names came with an idea an idea of how people can serve people in this world. So what did I do? Well, I decided to make them available for others so that I'm not going to launch 700 business ideas online. I've got many of them out there already, but I know I will never in this lifetime launch all of these businesses. Although, as I say those words, maybe I could, but I don't intend to, and I don't really have a passion to launch 700 plus businesses, but I decided to make them available for other people. So I created something called GoNowBusiness.com, where there are many brilliant ideas that I've had that I've now made available for others. So when someone takes a look at one of my Go Now business ideas, and let's just use an example here. I'm going to go to GoNowBusiness.com, and I'm just going to take a look at the domain names that are here, and I'm just going to pick one and talk about how you could make this a business. Okay. So let's look at one of my favorites. I mean, I love them all because I registered them all. Here's one that I have. It's called Viral Bites. Viral Bites. Well, what's Viral Bites? Well, that idea, it's viralbites.com. By the way, shorter domain names are far more attractive because they're easier to remember. I have totalpamper.com. I have vibrationmatch.com. I have upperlimitclub.com, unstuckfinancially.com, wealthparadigms.com, weeklyaccountability.com, wealthytrain.com. I've got others that are maybe a little bit longer in length, but nonetheless, they are still very, very good domain names, like thesuccessbutton.com, theromanceschool.com. Love that one. Think about that, the romance school, where you can teach people how to be romantic. That would be a fun one to do. People could pay for it. It could be a monthly recurring membership. Let's say you charge $10 a month and you get 1,000 clients at $10. Well, that's $10,000 a month. And what are you doing? You're teaching them romantic techniques, or it could be a course, the romance school. And there could be different types of classes. When you're romancing someone, when you're first dating them, when you're romancing someone who you've already been involved with for many, many years. There could be different types of classes that they could take, making romantic evenings, making romantic trips, romantic outings, spontaneous romance, right? There's so many different ways you could go this, and you could have a variety of romance kinds of classes and programs that people would pay for. Let's say you create a romance, like the ultimate romance school, and you charge $1,000 to go through that. And you get 1,000 people. Now remember, there's over 4 billion people online. You get 1,000 people in that, there's $1 million. You see how this can grow and scale so fast? Viral Bites, I mentioned earlier. This was an idea that I had to create techniques. They don't have to be your own. They could be other people, where you're sharing ideas of how to get content to go viral online. That would be tremendously valuable. You could charge for that. You could do it as a monthly recurring. You could do it as a program. You could have it as a service. You could have it all of those things, some of those things, none of those things, another idea. The whole point is, there are so many different opportunities waiting for you, but you got to get your energy and your presence into the spirit of that, and know that it's not only possible for you, it's possible for you right now, regardless of what's going on in your life. So I want you to recognize that there are gifts in every experience, in every time. You don't have to join the ranks of people that are struggling or suffering in these times. You could join the ranks of those that are actually making a fortune by finding their passion, by serving others in very valuable ways. Because I know with certainty that your success is guaranteed, but you got to know that. It's not enough for me to know that. You got to know that. So get excited about what's possible. what's possible for you right now, because there are opportunities waiting for you to grab a hold of and run with. And if you want to check out what we have available at Go Now Business, there's many brilliant opportunities there. There's one that I'm particularly in love with. I actually started a website for it called Note to God. Now that I would say is probably the most valuable domain name on Go Now Business. At the time of this podcast, it is available, but after this podcast, I don't know if it'll be available anymore. So if you're interested in that, head on over, because I've already implemented it. I've already created something that you could simply model. So incredibly valuable. So that's the wrap for today's manifestation podcast. I just want you to understand that there are opportunities everywhere. There's definitely huge opportunities right now, even though there's a worldwide pandemic going on. Don't participate in the destruction of economy. Don't participate in having less. Recognize that you can do whatever it is that you love and thrive right now. And if you love our podcast, give us a 5-star review and share it with your family and friends. And I look forward to being back with you again in a future manifestation podcast, where we're going to give you even more guidance that will help you in only positive ways.